Well, folks, looks like a lot can happen in the span of just a few days. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much for watching, for listening, for shooting a thumbs up, and for subscribing to the channel. Truly appreciate it. You are helping the next person find Prepper Nation somewhere in WTX. Thank you, ma'am. She decided to sponsor the coffee for this entire week. So we're running polls all week long, both here and in the afternoon chats. Um, so let's get straight into it. What I'm going to do is a recap. Most of you folks know what's going on right now, in Israel, but I'm going to recap it just in case folks haven't been plugged into the news this past weekend. Again, just 2 days, folks. So on Friday, we were literally sitting here talking about Biden building the wall. That was the big story. He's building the wall, and now we've got this infighting for House Speaker, yada yada yada. And here we are on Monday morning. Israel has officially declared war. It's on. So in terms of the recap, Hamas a couple of days ago they opened up with a barrage. They're saying 5,000 plus missiles. So Israel has the Iron Dome. All right, it's a defensive system, a very capable one, but it's only going to knock a handful out of the sky at one time. It's not there to anticipate or combat against 5,000 plus missiles. So most of them got through and they did major damage in Israel. Very shortly after, hundreds of armed soldiers, Hamas insurgents, they paraglided in and they got into southern Israel. Drones under Hamas control began targeting military installations and military vehicles, etc., in southern Israel. And then the soldiers who paraglided in cut through the fences and things and let a bunch of other bad people into Israel. And for the most part, I mean, they basically took southern Israel. Um, and there was just this feeling of shock, I think, from Israel, like what is going on. It's like they were paralyzed for the better part of a day because this is not supposed to happen. Hundreds of casualties from the jump. There have been hundreds more reported on both sides now, and hundreds taken prisoner. And they're saying that they are taking these folks to the West Bank, Israelis, and both soldiers, there's Israeli soldiers that they caught during the initial strike, and also a lot of civilians. So Israel's defense forces, they've been running multiple operations ever since, meaning a lot of different things. They are leveling parts of the Gaza Strip. They have been for the past day and a half, 2 days now, and they are going basically house to house is the only way they can do this in southern Israel because, again, hundreds of armed insurgents are there and they don't know exactly where they're at. So they're having to go house to house and clear these homes and evacuate people as they go along. So it's not a good thing, folks. And it could be the flashpoint that we've been talking about for the better part of the year now. You know how we've been looking at the Middle East, but we've been looking at Taiwan, but we've been looking at Poland. Seems as though this is the flashpoint. Um, Again, Israel began hammering the Gaza Strip. They claim that they're going after military targets. Now, they very well may be, but they're knocking a lot of mosques and things. It looks like they're taking civilian infrastructure down, scorched earth style. Israel has mobilized now tens of thousands of troops. They're preparing for a major invasion, but we don't know of what exactly. We don't know if they're going to be sent into the Strip in the West Bank to try and get rid of Hamas once and for all, or if they're going to Iran, because Israel was very quick to point the finger straight at Iran and blame Iran outright. In the court of public opinion of the world, they said they're behind it. We're going to get the people that are behind this. Because of this, America, we have moved now. We've relocated the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group. This thing is going to be sitting about 40 miles off the coast of Israel. Now there's a carrier, again, the Gerald R. Ford. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's a shorter one. So it's going to be mostly choppers and Harriers. They will find a way to get warplanes there, though. I assure you, the United States. You're going to have a missile cruiser, and I think you're going to have 4 of the guided missile destroyers with that particular group. And Joe Biden is already promising to immediately send munitions and aid, whatever Israel needs. Again, all of this happened in the span of 2 days. I can remember sitting here Friday morning talking about Joe Biden's failed policies at our own southern border, and 2 days later, here we are again. Netanyahu has officially declared war. It's already passed and everything. It's become official, meaning he has a blank check to do whatever he feels necessary and go after whomever he thinks is responsible. Again, in the span of 2 days. If you're not prepping by now, wow. Let me just say that before I move on. If you're somehow catching this and you're not prepping, maybe you're here for the entertainment value and you just use YouTube for entertainment, son. A lot of us do that. Or maybe you're here for various reasons. Maybe you're like, hey, I just found this channel. What's going on? Please be prepping. Please. At this point in time, there's just no excuse in it. All right. We continue to have a war in Ukraine. We can have a war at any point in time in Taiwan, and now we have a red hot war also with Israel and the United States, both boots at this point. But why is the carrier strike group off the coast of Israel? That's going to be a question some people are asking, like, why are we getting involved? Why did we send what we sent? They were close by. That's why they're there. But again, it all comes down, in my opinion, folks, it comes down to Israel point blank blaming Iran and saying you are responsible for this. And when you take a look at the coordination that was behind these initial strikes by Hamas, somebody was helping them. All right. Whether it was Iran or whom, I don't know, but somebody was helping them with these attacks because there's no way they could have coordinated these things without a stronger outside force. You know what I'm saying? Some of the technology that was used, the drones, for example, seemed to be Iranian. There were several meetings that the Israelis knew of between recent meetings between the folks in Iran and Hamas. So again, they have blamed them outright, and they are calling, they being Israel, they're saying this is their 9/11 moment. They continue to make that reference. Our own mainstream media continues to make that reference. This is Israel's 9/11 moment. That's how much of an event this was. I mean, it's a huge deal. And there's a good reason to believe that either they, being Israel, will try to reach out and hit Iran or vice versa. You know, I think it's smart to assume that they're prepping for a long-term war at this point. They're going to go after Iran, or Iran's going to try and strike first on their own. And that's why the carrier group is there. Just to kind of watch the ocean flank, to be there for support. I don't know that the U.S. wants to get involved and start dropping bombs and cruise missiles and things, but they're there just in case Iran would jump in, or unfortunately, if Israel goes after Iran, I mean it's already on. It's not teetering anymore. It's on. Israel's on a warpath, literally. But the propaganda machine here in the United States is hard at work. Getting back to that statement for a second, this is Israel's 9/11. I've also heard our own mainstream media saying this is their Pearl Harbor moment. There are a couple of things that stand out there. Number one, in my opinion, my humble opinion, folks, both of those are false flags. I think anyway. You can look at our Pearl Harbor event here in the United States, and you can say, well, man, there was a major intelligence, they dropped the ball big time with Pearl Harbor, but the intelligence community actually didn't. If you study up on Pearl Harbor, they knew that attack was coming, and they seemed to use that attack to garner support for a widespread World War II effort here at home in the United States. 9/11, same thing. If you dig into 9/11, and it's a dark rabbit hole, I'm not going to lie to y'all this morning, but if you get into it and you dig into it deep enough, you begin to see, man, maybe it was a false flag and they were trying to garner support to go into the Middle East for whatever reason. Mainstream media is laying the groundwork. When you go to every single mainstream media, whether they're left wing, whether they're right wing, whether they claim to be the real truth and nothing but the truth and no slant, and everybody is saying this is their 9/11 moment. This is their Pearl Harbor moment. They are laying groundwork for something bigger. And I believe that they are trying to justify to the American people a major war effort. I do. A major, large scale war effort, similar to the way they did with Pearl Harbor and World War II. We've got to draft, we've got to get people into conscription because, hey, we can't have countries attacking Israel in this way, right? We have to fund. You have to be willing to work and give us your money no matter what, so we can sell it off. Because again, look what happened to them. This is their 9/11 moment. It's got to be done, son. Which means, to me at least, if they're laying the groundwork for a major war campaign, that tells me a major war campaign is inbound. All right. I don't know if it's next week. Don't know if it's next month. Don't know if it's tomorrow, the way things are rolling now. But on two fronts, because let's not forget, we're still on the hook for whatever reason to Zelensky in Ukraine. And I stick to my original assessment. I said way back when, and I mean this as an American, okay? Think whatever you want to when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to Russia. Doesn't affect me either way. You can stand wherever you want to, right? The same with the Palestinians and Israel. Stand wherever you want to on that. Doesn't affect me one iota. I'm looking at it strictly as someone in the United States, and I've said and I maintain America cannot defend our allies on two different fronts and hope to win. We just can't do it. Now, I had said initially we can't defend Taiwan, who is a strong ally of the United States, and we can't defend Ukraine. But now we're in a situation where we're going to have to try and defend Ukraine and help prop them up in their war effort. But now we're going to have to defend Israel in their war effort. And again, I maintain we cannot, we have too many enemies. We don't have enough resources, including manpower, and we can't afford a major war. There's no way we can win a war like that on multiple fronts. And I get it. You folks are out there and you'll say, John, we have to deploy to help Israel. We have to. Number one, it's biblical, right? Number two, they're a strong ally of the United States. We have to be there for you, the United States. I get that. I get that argument, folks. But what I'm trying to say this morning is so does our enemies. Our enemies get that argument. And if it really was Iran and allies of Iran, I'm looking at Russia, I'm looking at China. They we're doing exactly what they want us to do, right? We're deploying just as expected. if they're behind these attacks. Look, if I wanted to defeat the United States, which I still think is the greatest military power in the world, it's not somebody you want to fight head to head, right? And if you have any hope of defeating the United States, the mightiest military in the world, how do you do it? Right? So I'm going to give you 3 things that I would do if I was on the other side of the fence, if I were to have any hope of defeating the United States of America. Number 1, see if any of this sounds familiar. I would cause chaos from within. I would Trojan horse the United States as much as possible. Sow division, create chaos, compromise anything that I possibly could, any establishment that I possibly could, whether it's, law enforcement, whether it's education, whether it's governmental, whatever. I'm going to compromise all of this stuff. All right. And just sow division and chaos. Number 2, I would spread the United States as thinly as possible because I'm not going to beat them head to head. Sorry, China. You're not beating us head to head. But I think the Chinese know this. But if we're spread out all over the place, that's a much more, that's a manageable situation. All right. And number 3, I make my move when the United States is at its weakest point, which is going to be when? Anybody want to guess in chat? The election cycle. Think about it. We're going to have total chaos at home. Okay. I think, now it's a prediction on my part, speculatory, but I think it's going to be a very chaotic election cycle. All right. I think it's a fair assessment. We're going to be spread all over the place. If we're shuffling our Navy and boots on the ground at some point over to Israel, and we're sending aid packages and we're sending munitions, and both Israel and Ukraine, again, we're on the hook for them as well. We're going to be spread way too thin to come together. If we get hit the way Israel got hit all at once, coordinated attack, these were insurgents, and Israel's no joke. They are a strong military force, but they got caught with their gloves down, and it was a very coordinated strike. Can you imagine if a major country were to hit us when we had our gloves down? And we're all over the place, deployed all over the world. We don't have enough boots to put on the ground in the first place because, again, wokeism, right? Forget about the Speaker of the House right now. I get that that's important, but right now, for me, that's a distraction. It was important on Friday. Now, not so much. We got bigger fish to fry, in my opinion. Forget about Taylor Swift, all this crap about Taylor Swift and mainstream media, every other story. Forget about all of the other distractions. The Bat Boy found in cave, the 5G is going to turn us into zombies on whatever, the 28th or 29th or whatever. We're about to have real problems here in the United States is what I'm trying to tell you. All right, real problems. I'm a conspiracy guy myself, but we got to kind of rein it in right now because what's going on in Israel, it's not a conspiracy. All right, buckle up. That's my advice this morning. Buckle up. Stack ammo to Mars, to the surface of Mars and beyond if you can get it. You better be stacking ammo. All right. Key in on the common wartime shortages. Everything from gasoline to car parts to have an extra pair of boots ready to go if you can afford it, have extra clothes, have extra blankets. Research it. Anything that runs out during a wartime situation. All right. Your salts, your sugars, things of this nature. Key in on it as a prepper. We're in day 593 when it comes to the war in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine. And winter is coming. There's no let up over there. We're not hearing a lot out of Ukraine right now between Ukraine and Russia. But winter's coming, which means it's going to slow down over there. It's going to become a meat grinder once more. And every winter, when you have a meat grinder in terms of war, it becomes resource heavy. The soldiers will dig in, they'll get in trenches, they need supplies. These supplies, this ammunition, these artillery shells, they've got to be coming from somewhere. And we're the biggest backer of Ukraine, okay? Netanyahu of Israel, this is a direct quote of his, mighty vengeance. When he was declaring war on Hamas, he said there's going to be mighty vengeance. Israel is about to go scorched earth. The only question is, are they just going to go through Gaza and go scorched earth? Are they going to go through the West Bank? Are they going to reach out and hit Iran? Are they going to turn them all into glass? These are the questions that I have at this point, because even without the blessing of the United States of America, this dude is on the warpath literally at this point. He's not going to stop. He is in burn it down mode. And I cannot say, if he had nothing to do with this, and this was in fact Iran, which I don't know for sure, I would be on the warpath too. I really would. If this is a 9/11 moment for them, I cannot blame him for being on the warpath. I'll tell you this, and I'll close with this: 2024 is going to be a brutal year. It's going to be one of the worst years that we as U.S. citizens can remember. Now, some of the folks that are out there that got more gray than I do, you may remember worse years, but I'm telling you, people my age and younger, we've probably never seen a year that's going to be as nasty as 2024. You can call it fear porn, you can call it whatever you want to this morning, because I really don't give a rat's rear end when it comes to that. If you're scared, log off of YouTube and go do whatever it is you do. But for the adults in the room that understand the threat and understand the situation, please be prepping. Okay, because I want to keep y'all around for a little while. All right. Y'all take care and God bless.